Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video I'm going to start off maybe a short series on living in Japan, but the fantasy that people have versus the reality of how actually living in Japan is. So I want to go ahead and start by saying this is not a video that's going to be trashing Japan in any way, nor is it going to be singing its praises. The videos are going to be exactly what they are: fantasy versus reality. Okay? So, in this one, I'm going to talk about the fantasy versus reality of politeness in Japan. Okay? So, the stereotype, or the maybe stereotype's the wrong thing to say, but the image that Japan has amongst the rest of the world is they're very polite and welcoming culture. And that it's not as clear cut as that. It's very how do you say, it's very there's a lot of gray area. It's not binary, if you will. So culturally ingrained in Japan is this idea of omotenashi. And what omotenashi means is helpfulness, welcoming strangers, helping them out, right? If an example of it would be if a tourist is coming in to Japan, an example of omotenashi would be that the Japanese person will give directions or help them find something, or just offering their free service out of the kindness of their heart. That's kind of the idea of what omotenashi is. Well, sorry to burst anyone's bubble that thinks that this is the truth about Japan, but it's not the truth. So, overall, I would say Japanese people are just like people anywhere else in the world. You're going to have very nice people here. You're going to have people that are, pretty much nice, but still sometimes are a bit selfish. And then you're going to have your assholes. That's the same no matter where you go in the world, and it's true for Japan. However, just to kind of give not only some facts here, but also some anecdotal evidence that has happened to me and people I know. So, starting with some facts, fact base here. So, this is according to the Charities Aid Foundation, okay? Charities Aid Foundation, in their World Giving Index for the last year, they ranked 144 countries in 3 different categories: helping a stranger, donating money to charity, and volunteering your time. Well, for Japan, when it comes to helping strangers, they rank 142 out of 144. That's right. They are second to worst in terms of helping strangers. Okay? This goes completely against the self-professed idea of omotenashi, of helping people. Okay? Well, in this way I can kind of explain a little bit about why a lot of people here do not help out strangers. In one way, there's this notion of you shouldn't interfere in other people's business, right? And a lot of people can appreciate that point. You shouldn't interfere in other people's business. But it goes a bit further than that. For example, there were instances where there was a couple fighting in public, where the boyfriend or husband and his girlfriend or wife are fighting in public, raising their voice, and sometimes it can get a bit heated, right? Well, let's say if there's no actual physical fighting going on, but there's a lot of harsh words and there's a lot of threatening language around. For, I would say, maybe a Westerner's perspective, they would perhaps step in and try and defuse the situation, right? Well, in Japan that won't happen, at least from what I've seen. This is the anecdotal here. For the most part, Japanese people will not interfere in matters like that because they're considered personal, not their business. And if anything criminal does go on, you are now involved in that case and you are implicating yourself. So if you coming here and if you have this idea of helping someone out that you think might be in trouble or saving them from someone else, just know that if you get involved, you're also liable for anything that could happen. Okay? That's just how it's seen here. Now, I'm one to say always follow your principles, always follow your gut instincts. If you sense something is wrong that's going on, if someone innocent is about to get hurt, I would, and your gut feeling is to stop that from happening, do so. Do it, because in my opinion, saving that person or defusing the situation is much better than letting them get hurt. You might get in trouble in some way, but at least at the end of the day you can sleep well knowing that you did the right thing. That's my opinion on it. I'm not encouraging people to break any laws. I'm just saying that if you feel that something is morally right to do, then do it, right? Regardless of what the society says, if it's appropriate or not to interfere. So, but, at the same time, if someone is being attacked, I don't see how I just honestly don't see how helping them would get you in any trouble in any way. There'd have to be some sort of weird thing where there's an ambiguity in the situation. But then I've also seen people fall down in public, and out of the 8 people surrounding them, only one person will even bother to acknowledge the situation, go up to that person and ask if they were okay. This actually happened. I was riding my bicycle years ago, probably about 10 years ago now, and there was an old man that fell on the street. And this was quite a ways ahead, so I hadn't even approached the situation yet, but I could clearly see that this man fell down. I was heading in that direction. Well, there was about maybe 6 or 7 people around this guy, and nobody reacted at all. They could clearly tell he fell down, but no one reacted at all. Some looked at him and then looked away. Some didn't even acknowledge that he fell. One person walked up and kind of helped him up, and I think they asked if he was okay. This man clearly could have been injured and fell down, right? But to counter that, there was another situation just about a year or so ago. I was heading to the convenience store to pick something up, and there was a situation where I believe it was a high school girl was walking out of the convenience store, and a couple of similar age boys on bicycles drove by and knocked her down. They hit her with their bicycles, knocked her to the ground, and rode away. So out of probably the 10 witnesses that saw it, including myself, I would say 4 people and then me, so 5 people total, so about half of the people there. 4 people, like someone that could have been her dad's age, an old woman, I believe one of the store clerks, and I forgot the other, maybe like a middle-aged woman, and then myself. We all kind of approached her and helped her up and helped her with her bags and put the books in the bags and everything, and asked if she was okay. So that was a situation where clearly a lot of the people went to help this person out. So it's a case-by-case situation. as is with many things. So, in one instance, several people ignored the fact that there was a man clearly in need of help, and he fell down. The other situation was, more than half the people came to this girl's rescue. But to me, that's just anecdotal. But according to the facts here, that Japan ranks 142 out of 144 helping strangers. So, but to also counter that, Japan also ranked way better in the other two categories. So the other two categories were donating money to charity and volunteering their time. Okay, so Japan ranked much higher on the list. So, for example, in terms of donating money to charity, Japan falls somewhere in the middle. It's ranked 99th out of 144. So, still, it's a lot better than being 142 out of 144. And then for volunteering their time, they ranked even higher at 56th place out of 144 countries. So while it's nothing special, it's still better than nearing the bottom of the barrel, right? One other thing to note is this is all based on the percent of the population that has done the good deed and not the actual number of people doing it. So, for example, while Japan may be the 56th in the world for volunteering their time, but only 23% of the population volunteers. That's still pretty good. That's almost a quarter of the country that volunteers, right? So just going by sheer numbers, Japan is actually 6th in the world for volunteering their time. 23% out of, the 130 million people that live here. So 26 million people or so have done really well with volunteering their time. So in some ways, Japan is very helpful with volunteering time and donating to charities, but helping random strangers, not so much, not so much. So, and of course, people on the interwebs, on Twitter, have fought back or have countered back with here's what they say. Some of them said, what is the reason behind us being so cold? This is a Japanese person. What is the reason why us being so cold? No wonder everyone in the world thinks we're that way. Actually, I hadn't heard of that before. I didn't think people consider Japanese people cold. Another person writes, this is especially true in Tokyo. When I went overseas, I was shocked at how kind people were to me. Yeah, so of course in a city like Tokyo, you're going to have colder people. Usually big cities are just going to be full of people who are focused on themselves. It's like that in New York, Los Angeles, Tokyo, Seoul, probably any big city, you're going to have that sort of attitude. So that's not necessarily a Japanese thing. No one has any time to help strangers, but when people do help, we give what we can. Yeah, so Japan's a very busy country. Like, people here are really busy, so they may say, oh, I don't have time to help random people out. I think that's actually easier to help out random strangers that need help as opposed to volunteering your time. But I digress. Another one says, it's because they ran the survey using Western ways of thinking. What we think of as helping is different from them. To us, it's just normal. Ah, okay, so there's always someone who has to chime in with this, is Japan is different and special compared to the rest of the world, whether it be from someone who is Japanese or someone who is a Japan apologist. No. Japan has a unique culture, yes, but so does every other country has their own unique culture. That is what makes you different. However, you are not different in terms of helping people. I would say that is a universal thing that is considered good in the world, is helping your fellow man, right? So Japan is not special in this case. That is a fantasy that both people who grew up in Japan sometimes believe, and people outside of Japan believe as an image, is Japan is unique and special in some way, when no, it's not. People are human beings no matter where they are born and grow up. People are human beings. And with that comes good people, bad people, middle of the road people, and everything in between. Okay? So, just to give you some other context here, here are the top 5 countries for helping strangers, by the way, okay? Libya, Iraq, Kuwait, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. All of these countries have unstable governments, and they are often, at least these days, a few of those countries are quite dangerous countries. But the people help random strangers the most. Something to also think about in this case. Just because a country is safe and economically well off and first world and everything else doesn't mean that people are inherently friendlier than others. While also countries that are seen as Trump would call it third world shitholes actually have some decent human beings living in them. So you have all these factors that people need to consider. So that is the fantasy versus reality of Japan in this case, in terms of Japan's politeness. Is Japan the most polite country in the world? According to this survey, they are not. And even in other areas where they rank higher, they're not the top. But does that mean everyone in Japan is a cold, robotic asshole? No, it doesn't. It just means that depending on certain cultural norms, so doing some things is not considered as right or as morally right as something else. Does that make Japan unique and separate from all other countries? No, just makes this aspect of their culture different than other cultures. Okay? Simple as that. Alright guys, if you liked the video, make sure to click the thumbs up button. If you disagree with the video and don't like it, you can even hit the thumbs down. It doesn't matter to me, but what I would like is you choose one or the other. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comment below, and if you like the video content here, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. I think that's where it's at. And I also do podcasts and some live streams. So if you're interested in those, click on the little bells to get the notification. With that, see you next time.